I have to show you my red. Oh, this is cool. I love this. Okay, 2. And we're almost at 1. Hey,
Happy New Year, everybody! Almost.
There are other parts in the world that are celebrating.
Are already there. That's true. That's true.
Are partying now. So I feel like we are absolutely allowed. And I am disappointed that we didn't think in advance and have a champagne.
I know, but I have them here, so we'll pretend they're there. So happy New Year, everyone. I know it's tonight for most of us, and we just want to wish you the best, most prosperous, joy-filled 2025 that you can handle. I'm Lyndsay Dowd. This is Jennifer Sethry. This is the beginning of a LinkedIn Live series. We actually started it a week ago. We'll be continuing this, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of the things everybody loves to talk about at the beginning of the year, some people make resolutions. I'm not a big fan of the resolutions. Some people set goals, and then some people choose a word that is going to kind of be the beacon of direction you are going to take in the new year. So, Jen, let's start with you. What?
Let's do the pressure.
Yeah, a little pressure. What is your word? How did you arrive at that? And share a little bit about why.
Well, I was talking to Gina, right? For those of you who don't know, Gina Riley, and it seems like every single person that I know has had a year, right? Whether it's been professionally, whether it's been personal, and as she started sort of going through my year of everything, the good and the bad and everything in between, I was like, it's been a hell of a year. And then when you asked a word to describe what I thought 2025 was going to be and how I would describe 2024 is relentless. And if I get to be, if I get to pick a second word, I'm going to go with fearless, because I think they sort of go hand in hand, right? It's we've made some huge pivots with Intry, which have been amazing and rewarding, but a heavy lift, right? Totally. And then, my daughter was in a really bad car accident, right? Long story, hit by a train, survived.
She's okay.
Lucky.
She's totally fine.
She's totally fine. And, she was in the car that belonged to my mom, and my mom passed away a couple years ago. And you never want to get that call from the police where they say there's been an accident, right? And it was right before we were doing our second accelerator, right? And he said, if it wouldn't have been for that car, I'd be having a different conversation with you. Yeah. And so fearless, relentless, and community, like my community of peers and friends and coworkers were there. I mean, they showed up. If shower uppers is a word, that's what I was really blessed with this year.
Yeah.
How about you?
So it was actually funny. I did a post on this the other day, and I said that my 2024 word was so great. I couldn't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago. So I actually did not a cry for help, but a plea for some assistance from my beloved LinkedIn fam, and said, open to ideas. What words do you have? And the comments were great. They were really interesting. And it's always interesting when you see how people see you and the things that they bring back your way. And when I was thinking about the intention that I want to move into 2025, 2025 with. Two words that really kind of rang hard for me was momentum. So, taking this energy and this work that we've really started and continue that, but really it's unstoppable. That's the one that I want. And I've learned that ever since being shoved out of the nest. And if you don't know my story, oh my God, it's on a million podcasts and I can tell it to you anytime. But after 25 years in corporate America, I got fired from a job, thought I was the only executive on earth to ever be fired, thought no one would ever work with me again, and kind of turned my life into something else and wrote a couple books and started a podcast and got some awards and did all these things I never thought I could. And then I met you, and now here we are, and we're building this startup. And I just feel like anything we want to do, we're going to do it. So that's kind of my intention and my word for 2025. And it's such a fun conversation when you see what people are choosing for their words. And there were some really great suggestions. I mean, Rumble,
Momentum.
Yeah, there are just some really fun ones. So if you haven't picked your word yet, I invite you to think about it, because it's a fun exercise and it just kind of sets your heart tone and the way you want to move through the year. And there's a lot that you can do, but setting out that positive intention, I think, makes a difference.
I think it makes all the difference in the world. Like you and I were talking earlier today and throughout last week and over the last several months. And I think, someone said to me, they said, sometimes when you show up, you bring chaos. And at first I was really affronted. I was like, oh, well, you can go lay down by your bowl. But then I thought, oh my God, that's the best compliment you could have given me, because from chaos, you create a catalyst, and a catalyst creates change. And that's what we all need to do, is embrace the change. It's the one thing we can always rely on, is that there's going to be change, and we get to choose how we react.
How we respond. That's right.
And are we going to react in a positive way, or are we going to react in a negative way? And we've talked about this on other lives. I think everybody who's listening and has been to our LinkedIn lives before knows, like, we've had really high highs and we've had really low lows, and sometimes those things in the middle. But every day you get to make a choice. And when I say, fearlessness, when I was talking to Gina and she was taking me through, I was like, oh God, I forgot I broke my ankle. Yeah, that did happen. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that too. And sometimes you have to make a choice. You can
and when you're in it, neither of us dwell in the downtimes. Both of us, I think, really try and move forward with some positivity and some, new direction. And it's all about the pivot and how do you move past whatever it is that's in your way. So, okay, so let's shift a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about the LinkedIn Live series. So every Tuesday and Thursday for the next few months, we are hosting these LinkedIn Lives, and we're going to be bringing you the experts that we trust, that we love, that we look to for advice on a variety of topics. So the last one I just did with our beloved friend Melissa Cohen, who is otherwise known as the Good Witch of LinkedIn. We did an all things personal branding. It was super fun. Thank you to everybody who reposted it and shared it. I think it was shared like 19 or 20 times. So many comments. So it tells us that it was helpful, which is our goal. So we've got some really exciting ones coming up. I'm going to be speaking on Thursday with Reina Gandhi. We're talking all things interviewing, prep, during, post. She's going to break it down and really kind of help you prepare as you move into your job search. So that's the next topic. And then Jen, you've got one coming up with Marie, right?
Yes, I know. I don't think the date's been decided yet, because we're trying to coordinate schedules, but I'm really excited about it. It's when I first started.
Who is it? Give us her name so we can tag her in the comments.
So,
Marie Zimenoff.
Thank you. And I was hesitant because I was like, I don't want to kill the pronunciation of her last name. So But I was starting to say that, like when we started doing this, you were a pro at this. I had no idea what I was doing. And I think that there's amazing gifts that have been coming out of these lives and connections and relationships. And you and I are the kind of people who put it out there. We're honest, we're transparent. It's nice to be liked, but my day isn't going to be ruined if you decide you don't like me. But I think the sharing of stories and the linking people together and the making connections and helping other people. And I think for me, doing these has helped me level up in a way that I didn't even know that I needed or that I wanted. And now that it's happened, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Well, it's a great way to engage with our community. And, certainly if there are topics that you want to hear about, we want to hear that. So share that with us. And if you have suggestions of people that you'd like to see join us, we're open to hearing those too. We do have a long list of folks that we've invited and are inviting. But these topics mostly are going to be around job seeking of some form. Either we're going to be talking to career coaches or resume writers or people who have expertise in a specific area about the job search, or we're going to be talking to recruiters or chief people officers, VPs of HR, people that have to make decisions about hiring. But we really want to give you as much value as we can. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that I really would love to talk about is, we talk to people every day who are in the job search and who are going through the interviewing process, and they are incredibly talented and haven't been in this spot before, and people don't know what they don't know. And I think the one thing I just want to say, and especially with some of the conversations I had this morning, is you're not alone. Right? You have a whole group, and part of joining, I can't talk about other people's lives, but I can talk about ours, is you're joining a community of people who, as I mentioned, are shower uppers and that want to help and want to lift up and share really important, valuable information. So that's just what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, the whole name of the game is value, and we're not here to just take up people's time. We really want you to walk away from it. And, it was funny. I had an old friend reach out to me today, and she said, "Hey, Lindsay, you said you could help me with my LinkedIn." And I sent her the post from the live that Melissa and I did. And she literally just responded and said, "I made a few quick changes based on that video." So that's good. We want to know that whatever it is we're sharing is helpful to you. I mean, that's the whole point of doing these. So a big chunk of today, what I wanted to really talk about, which we haven't had an opportunity to share, is kind of giving the 360-degree tour of what it is we're doing with Intry. I think people know the first one, which is our career accelerators. And that's something that we've been really working on since July. And that is helping job seekers. So we work directly with these job seekers. We do this 48-hour intensive program that is very bespoke, very individualized, very small. I don't say small diminutive. I mean small, intentionally a small cohort, so you can get a lot of that individual attention. And through it, we prepare you with everything you need to go out into the world on your job search. So that was kind of one of the pieces that directed us towards other pieces and parts. So that's called our career accelerator. But that, Jen, you want to tell the story of what happened in July?
I was just going to say that, like, this isn't an infomercial, right? I think part of this is people were like, okay, so what is your journey? How did you get from here to here, right? Again, I'm going to say what was the catalyst that created that. And so when I reached out to Lindsay this summer, I had this idea to do a career accelerator, and I had met so many amazing people like Lindsay and Gina Riley and excuse me, and so many more people that I was like, how can I lift them up, and how can we help people in the process? And so we put together this career accelerator, and it was amazing. It exceeded our expectations in people's response to it, and it changed how we thought how we were going to be delivering it. And I think it helped us as coaches and leaders and resume writers and technologists as much as it helped the people who were in it. And so what that did was say, hey, there's all these different opportunities. And so we created, the Career Accelerator, and that has taken off. And then that turned into companies reaching out, asking us to do outplacement services, which we did, but it was more on the down low. We didn't really talk about it. We didn't promote it.
Yeah.
And really big companies started reaching out. And
like 6 Fortune 50 companies reached out and said, what you just did, I want that for my outplacement services. And that became another really important offering from us.
But I think like the journey is like, if you would have asked Lindsay and I where we would be, 6 months from now, I don't think that I would have said, hey, I'm going to do this whole new B2B part of the company. I don't know that I'm going to bring, Lindsay in as our CRO. And I didn't know we were going to expand this software offering. And I didn't know we were going to acquire another company. And I didn't know we were going to roll out this new software that we're calling Career Compass, which is for resume writers. And
wait, we'll get there. Keep going.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, and so like, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that is like sort of the point of doing this on the day before the new year, right?
That right there. Can we just unpack that for a second? Because I just want to say, for anybody that is at that crossroads or thinking you want to try something new, do it. You never know how things are going to unfold. But one thing both of us know for sure, when it aligns with your heart, when you feel deep connection with your purpose, your work will be better. People will resonate with you and they will want to get involved, support you, get engaged. And both of us have been on wild and crazy rides with not a lot of foresight as to what was coming down the track, but we've stayed really open, and being open has allowed us to do things we never thought we could or would or even should. But when we have, it's resulted in some pretty tremendous opportunities, some pretty tremendous results. Jen built the patent, which started Intry, and that patent is pretty impressive and solid and robust. But that technology is the foundation of really everything we've built. And, when she built that, she didn't necessarily know this was going to be a thing. But that's just us listening to our community and figuring out where the needs are. And when we created that Career Accelerator, when Jen created the Career Accelerator, she didn't know that it was going to become this entirely new stream of business. But it has been an absolute joy figuring it out and supporting the people in the cohort. And I will say thank you to everybody that trusted us with their job seeking journey. Our success rate is very high, like in the 90s. Almost everyone who's attended has found a job. And that is something we are really, really proud of. This isn't just a money-making thing for us. For us, we really want to see you land on your feet. We want to be proud and say, we helped you a little bit. It's important.
Well, and expanded your circle and created, a community. And I want to make sure that this isn't just an infomercial, right? For Intry, because that's not the objective, right? The objective is really to be like, anything is possible. And as we look out from where we were in 2024 and where we're headed in 2025, is the message that anything is possible. And sometimes you just have to get out of your own way, and you have to, accept that the possible or the impossible is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we hit on 2. So you heard about Career Accelerator, which we have one coming up in January. So if you are a job seeker, we invite you to check it out. I know Jen says it's not an infomercial, but I'm telling you about our stuff because people keep asking.
I don't be like, oh my God, I signed in for an infomercial.
No, the second one is the outplacement alternative. So that is working with companies. And the one message I want to give to HR leaders, because that's really who we work with on this. If you want to preserve your brand, if you want to not be sued, this is a great way to preempt a layoff. So if you know you have to lay people off, take care of the people that took care of you. This is a really wonderful thing to give them, and it's probably richer than 6 months of diluted coaching that you would get. So, this is really 360 degrees of what you're going to need. So proud of both of those things. But Jen, let's dive into one of our other offerings, which is how we support our job placement agencies. We have a really great success story with Goodwill. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, so Goodwill is, and thank you for having your CRO hat on when I don't, right? So I am the worst at talking about some of this stuff.
Bring it back.
I know. So we did a partnership with Goodwill, and they went from helping 100 to 125 to 150 people a month to 283 to 333 people a month, and in a fairly small Goodwill, and they did it because they were able to automate things, and they were able to track things, and there was a CRM, and it was affordable, and that was a catalyst for Goodwills across the country signing up for it and being able to help more people. And so that, again, I keep saying the word catalyst, and that was our catalyst to look at, hey, there's another avenue that we can do, and we can connect the dots, and you've probably heard me say this many times before, but that we're stronger together sometimes than we are on our own. And so when I meet these amazing leaders, these amazing resume writers and career coaches and HR leaders and people who are recruiters, right? And like they can't do their jobs, blindfolded, standing on one leg. And so I thought, how can we build something that can lift everybody up and that can be affordable, and where it's changing the way that technology is viewed, right? So we decided to be like, okay, people are concerned with AI. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And how do we leverage that? But how do we keep the humanity in the process? Because you can't replace the kick-ass career coach. You can't replace the kick-ass resume writer.
Nor do we want to.
Right. And you can't replace the hiring manager. People have tried and it's ended really badly, and you can't replace recruiters. Like, people aren't just going to magically appear, in your funnel to apply for jobs. And so we decided to bring all these elements together, and that's what we built. So it's like an idea started here, and then it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And the people that we're bringing on and that we're hiring has gotten bigger, bigger and bigger. And the people that we're serving has gotten bigger, bigger and bigger. And it's been done word of mouth. And it's been done, based on not wanting to, use AI to wipe entire channels of businesses out. Someone was so worried about what we were doing and that we were going to replace resume writers. And I was like, slow your roll. That's not what we're doing at all.
Not at all. Well, and we'll get to that in a second, but I want to just talk a little bit about some of the successes and some of the things that we heard from Goodwill, because when I listen to the success stories, they're really interesting. I mean, there was a lot of late career folks who were coming in and they could barely spell email, and, coming in and saying, I'm scared of technology. I'm really uncomfortable with this. And they're like, no, you're going to fill out this form and we're going to, guide you. And they would come back excited. They understood it. It was easy to use. But the best part, they were getting jobs. And so with the guidance of the job placement agents, they're able to say, okay, this is the process, but let's get you sorted. Let's get your resume, bulletproof so it can get through the systems, and let's have you show up the best version of yourself. So anyway, that I thought was really profound and really important. And I just, I love hearing those stories. So we'll keep sharing those stories because I think they're inspiring and they're good for folks to hear. So let's pivot, Jen. Let's talk where you want to go.
I just want to say one thing that we didn't do. So everyone who's joined us, I want to know what their words are. Like, take a minute and put in our chat, what is your word for 2025? Maybe what was your word for 2024 and what's your word for 2025? And feel free to ask us questions and share your story, because that's why we're here. Right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think hopefully y'all know, if you're connected to me, you know, I'm pretty chatty on LinkedIn. I love exchanging stories, exchanging inspirations with you all. So please, for sure, leave some comments. We love to connect. And if we're not connected, let's make sure we are. So let's round out the last piece of what we are focusing on in 2025, and that's Career Compass. So Jen, why don't you share what it is and what we're doing?
Oh, so first, Andrew, thank you for the positive comments. So Career Compass is a platform that is for career coaches and resume writers and also HR people and recruiters, where you can help people write their resumes. You can track every job that they've applied for. You can make sure that everything is ATS. You have, it's text messaging capability. It's posting capability. It is doing an interview. And we created our own AI interviewing tool where you can do mock interviews, where there's a job trend dashboard that will tell you what's going on in the market and where you fit. And I mean, it's so robust, and we have just come out of our beta phase, and it's something we are so proud of. And, we're going to be launching it in the middle of January. And it's everything that you could possibly want in helping people find jobs, in coaching with them, in tracking their success, in helping them customize their resumes and their UVP, their unique value proposition, and what does their LinkedIn banner look like, and what does their footprint look like outside when they are applying for jobs. And it's all in one spot. And that really came out of doing the career accelerator, and it came out of people telling us what they need. And we have some of the best developers, I think, in the market that, we said, hey, we need to add a calendar function. No problem. We need to add a note-taking function. No problem. And we're doing it. Right. And I think that's like the lesson for everybody is, if you want it, you can make it happen. It may not happen overnight, but it can happen. You can build what you want, and you can build your career to be what you want it to be.
Oh, and I think we did a lot of focus groups with CHROs and VPs of HR and chief people officers to really kind of gauge what they needed when it came to the outplacement alternative. We're doing the same with career coaches and resume writers. So really looking forward to hearing from them, what's most important, what's going to help them grow their business. But we really tried to think of everything, and we really did poll a lot of these folks to try and make sure that the most important pieces were a part of it. So there is an option to build a cover letter, and it is AI, and it is the combination of you and AI, where you can put in things like, I know Java and I spent 2 years in the Peace Corps. Make sure you mention that. And it's so smart the way that it produces these really beautiful cover letters. And the whole AI mock interviewing, some people get really tripped up interviewing. They get nervous, and the best way to get better is to practice. So when you get to practice, your coach, your resume writer, your career coach can look at it and say, okay, I saw you were really struggling when you got to this part. Let's work on that. Let's figure out what that is. It's not happening in a vacuum, but it's basically giving you a platform to practice. So as a coach or a resume writer, having that ability to see how your client's really doing really matters. Because a lot of the times you hand them off to the interview, you don't really know, you only get their perspective and you can't see where they could be going wrong. So it's really nice to be able to have those things. And CK, I love the words you're putting in the chat. So these are so, so good. I love limitless. I was going to tell Jen, I wanted her to think about limitless because she had fearless. And what was the other one you had?
Relentless.
Yes. Limitless, I think, is a good one for you too. So I love that one. But and Andrew, nice to see you guys. I'm not looking at my phone, guys. I'm looking at the comments to see if we can answer any questions. So those are kind of the four main things that we're working on with Intry. Our website has been completely revamped. You can see more information there. And please, if you have questions or if you want to talk about it, we are all ears. So let's pivot a little bit to one of my favorite topics. And you started it at the beginning, which was community. And community is everything for us. And both of us are members of the Outlier Project, which is like near and dear to my heart. It completely changed my life. But building community with you all on LinkedIn has fundamentally changed the way we work. It changes the way we build. It changes the way we connect. It changes your in real life meetings. You can build really impressive relationships without ever having met someone. But when you do get to meet them for the first time, it solidifies so much of that connection. So Jen, talk a little bit from your perspective, what community has meant to you, what you want it to be in 2025, just some thoughts.
Okay, well, that's opening up a big box. And a big door. And you know what? I'm just going to walk right through it. So, to me, community is you lift people up. You don't tear people down, right? I think, we've come through a really divisive couple years, not just in the US, but I think sort of globally. And I think, for me, 2025 is about community. It's about leading with kindness. It's about leading with respect. It's about being able to have conversations in a civil way, even when you don't disagree. Like I can disagree.
When you disagree. When you disagree.
Exactly. When you disagree. And I think that, we've lost a certain part of humanity and decorum in having debates and having discussions. And I think when I look at what I want to do in 2025, it's to continue to build that community of people and to have difficult and challenging conversations in a way where you don't tear other people down, where you lift people up for having the courage to speak what their convictions are. And we can disagree that maybe I don't agree with your vision, or I don't like the path that you're going down, but it's not my choice, right? It's your choice. And that doesn't mean that we can't be friends. And so to me, community means all of those things. And it means, I think, you don't have to love the same or believe the same to love the same. And I think even though, listen, at LinkedIn Live, we're talking about business, but at the heart of business are people, are individuals who are trying to do their best and get through life and get through the curveballs that are tossed our way. And I think when you expand your community and you lift other people up, it's so much easier and rewarding than trying to tear somebody down in your community. And so I think that's what it means for me. And it's opening up doors for people and lending, a helping hand and helping people through difficult conversations, whether it's, personal or it's professional or it's an organization, that we obviously can't say, but, they're going through a really, really hard time. And I think their approach to dealing with their people and their workers is really good because that's their heart. Their heart is in their workers, and they didn't hit maybe the numbers or that they need to do, but they're taking care of their people. And I think that pays dividends that you can't. It's like helping out your neighbor. When you back out of your driveway in your neighborhood and your neighbor's garbage can is knocked over, it might take you 2 minutes to stop because they've gone for the day and put the stuff back in the garbage can. That's not a big deal. I mean, it's kind of gross, but why would you not do it? You know what I mean? Like, I just think kindness and humanity, those are how I identify my community.
I think that's beautiful. And you said something that, it's the nexus of why I built Heartbeat for Hire. It's so much about my podcast, and that is, your light does not dim when you shine it on others. And I think it is so easy to lift others up and share when you think they've done something great. And that's very much our brand. This year we are building a lot of strategic partnerships with some companies, with some associations, with individual coaches and resume writers. And you being part of our world, we want to shine that light on you. We want to make you be invited into a broader community, and ultimately it drives business for you and it drives business for us. But that is very much fundamental to who we are, and certainly how I've always led. And my favorite leaders did a really good job of that. And it could be something small, but you never know the impact your words have unless someone tells you. And it is when you can create a safe space for people to come to you and tell you, hey, I was really struggling, but what you said really helped. That's meaningful to us. That makes the world go round as far as we're concerned. So we really, really enjoy and appreciate the people that partner with us, the people that come on our LinkedIn Lives, our community, the people that support all the work that we're doing. But it really comes down to, we are trying to help others. We are trying to help job seekers on every level. And whether that's through companies, it's through job seekers themselves, it's through job placement agencies, or it's through those coaches. That is our community of our customers, our clients. But our community is so much more. And we'll continue to do that throughout the year. So we invite you to be a part of it, and your ideas are certainly welcome.
I mean, I also would love to ask you guys again. I love the words that you guys put in there, abundance and courageous and I think possibilities and limitless and unwavering and all of those things. I would love to know what community means to all of you. Is it something you can define in a single word or a sentence? And Lindsay asked for something. How would I describe myself to people? How would I describe myself coming through this year? And there was a Maya Angelou. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being so disrespectful and not saying it exactly the right way.
Angelou, you got it.
Angelou, thank you. Is that, I think all of us have come through 2024. I think was a really challenging year for so many people on a myriad of different levels. And so the quote that I'm going to put in for me that defines it is Maya Angelou's. It's a "Still I Rise" quote. It says, "You may tread me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise." And that's a quote that I love, and it always gives me inspiration because life is hard and it's difficult. And sometimes you do feel like you've just been, kicked to the curb, and you're insignificant to some of the people that are around you. But, a speck of dust is still something that rolls into something bigger, and it rises. And I just really resonated with that quote. And so I would love to hear from some of y'all what resonates with you. Lindsay, what's yours?
My quote, I think,
but like your you know, we know your
well, my quote is also a Maya Angelou. Hi, Philly. My quote is also a Maya Angelou quote, and that is the people won't remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that has been the way I've moved through the world for the last 5 years, and it's the way I'll continue to move through the world. And I know I get a lot of feedback from the podcast of people that are like, oh my gosh, I had to listen to this episode 3 times. It helped me so much. Or I love how you asked this person this question and they came back and it just gave me goosebumps. That's why we do it. You know, this is why we are, putting ourselves out there and trying to give you as much information and support and inspiration as possible. Listen, job seeking is hard, and it is no joke. And there is so much you need to know. And the world has changed. Technology has changed. The process has changed. And if you were like me and for 20 plus years, 23 years, I never had to look for a job. I got to do really cool things and I got picked to do a lot of really cool things. And then when you have to interview for the first time, and you're rusty, it is a lot. It is a lot to think about. It's a lot to know about. And, you know, the first question I ask on my show is, tell me your story. When we have people join our cohort, and that's one of the first things we work on is how do you tell your story? That you want someone to feel something when you tell your story. That's what keeps you memorable. That's what makes you interesting. And everyone listening, you have a story, and how you tell it is the art. That's the beauty. And we love to pull that out of people. So that is going to continue to be a big push for us. That's a big piece of building your personal brand. And it's a huge piece of life skill that you're going to need, because you're going to meet people. And when someone says, so tell me your story, you're not going to start with, well, in the 4th grade. And I think I was, you want to be like, oh, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, let me tell you, and tell them something that's meaningful.
You're really good at that, right?
Well, I love doing it. I love doing it. And we had a gentleman in one of our cohorts, and I loved his story. His story was, this is inspiration for you all. He had moved from finance into pharma. And, you know, he was telling me the story, and he's like, and I knew this code and I learned this Java and I was like, oh my God, you lost me at the 3rd sentence. I'm sound asleep. What made you move from finance to pharma? And he's like, oh, well, that's a really simple story. And I said, well, what is it? He said, well, my wife and I were pregnant with our first child. We went and did the genetic test, and they told us that it was likely our child had Down syndrome. And for 72 hours, we wouldn't get the results of that test. And it was the most excruciating, the most painful 72 hours we ever spent. And I never wanted anyone to have to wait for a test result or a drug like that again. And so that's what prompted my move. And I went, that's it. That's your story. That's what's going to get you in the door. And it's going to show people the passion behind your decisions, the passion behind the work that you're doing, and it's going to make you memorable. And so when we can pull those nuggets out of people, it changes everything. And that's something we love to do.
People are really interesting. I love, you know, like I set up in my calendar some like 2 hours every week for people who I have no idea who they are. And I, you know, sometimes I don't know who I'm going to meet exactly or why they want to connect with me, but I met some of the most interesting, dynamic people from just having a conversation, maybe that has nothing to do with the work that I do. They just seem like an interesting person. So I accept the request. And I love that. And telling people about your story. And so I want to circle back to the question that I asked a little earlier, which was, what is people's community? So CK said, I believe we're all connected. So community is the foundation of how I approach life. Awesome. Amy said, community is where joy finds its roots, and together we grow into something greater than ourselves.
Love that, Amy.
Andrew, to me, a strong community are born out of individuals showing their best selves. Those are amazing, y'all. Like I think people get a bad rap for being vulnerable and for being authentic. And I think there's been this sort of default of putting a mask on because this is what you want people to think, or this is who you think who you want them to think you are, but maybe it's not who you authentically are. And so I think these honest, raw answers I love, because the best results in my life, personally and professionally, are when I show up as my authentic self.
100%.
Right? Vulnerable. You may not like what I have to say, and we can agree to disagree, or you may love it. Right. But I think, it's being who you are isn't anything to be ashamed of.
Well, and one thing you and I both are really bad at, we're really bad liars. We don't really have great poker faces either. So it's so much easier to be ourselves than it is to put on some mask and tell you something that we don't believe. So it's also, the word authentic got a bad rap in 2025. Everyone got a little tired of it. Everybody felt it was a little overused. 2024. And I still believe authenticity is such a great leadership quality. It just is. And when you can demonstrate vulnerability and you can share bits of your humanity and yourself, your relationships are always going to be deeper. They're always going to be more profound. And people like to connect over stuff. They don't want to see a perfectly polished, sparkly, like this. I mean, if no one was listening to us, they'd be like, oh, they're pretty, they're blonde. But like, we've got our fair share of issues. We do. We've survived a lot this last year, and it's we share that to help and to let you know that you're going to get through whatever it is you've got going on, and just don't lose hope. And find people that are doing the thing that you want to do and go ask them how they did it. Spend some time with them, learn from them. Most good leaders want to give back. And that's a really big part of who we are.
Yeah. I mean, I believe really what you said, that most good leaders do want to give back. And like, you didn't get to where you're at just by yourself, right? It was your community. It was your 100%. Bosses. It was your peers. It was your coworkers. It was your friends. And I think, when I think I was, I don't know, 17 or 18, and my dad said something to me, and so I got my first job at 14, right? So I wanted to rule the world and wanted to be president of, big companies. And I wanted to, start, buy and sell companies. And for the most part, I've done those things. I've checked those boxes. But my dad said, he's like, listen, never be so ambitious that you step on people on the way up, because they're going to remember that on your way down. And I think anyone who says, and I did talk to an individual a couple of weeks ago who said that they'd never failed. And I burst out laughing. I mean, it was the most inappropriate response on my part to burst out laughing. But
we both failed so many times, but you learn the most from failure.
Right. I mean, I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying to me, to my face, that you have never failed at anything. And this person was like, yeah, I've never failed. And I was like, huh, okay. Like, we probably can't be friends, because I don't just want to talk about all my failures. That's sort of boring. Right. And I just thought, wow, this must be really sad for this person who has to live up to these unrealistic set of expectations of never failing, because I've learned more from my failures than for sure I've learned from my successes.
I don't know. I always learn more from failure. And as a leader, how you embrace failure for your teams is critical. I talk about this a lot on my show, but you set the tone. And if you if you ever throw anybody under the bus that you delegated to, you are a rotten leader. You have to own that. And I'm dead serious. If you are going to sit there and say, hey, run with this project, I'm going to delegate this to you and give you this opportunity to shine, and they fall on their face, that's your responsibility. You've got to take the blame for that. You've got to take the hit, and you've got to say they didn't have enough information. They didn't have enough of whatever to arm them and equip them for what it was. And we're going to learn from this, and we're not going to repeat it. But the leaders that take the hit are the ones that earn the respect, and they're the ones that people want to work for. And you all have an opportunity to lead, whether you are a people leader or not. So I just encourage everybody to step up and lead wherever you are. Jen, 10 minutes left. Parting thoughts?
You know, I do have kind of an interesting story I think it's worth sharing.
Go.
And that is, I was talking to a friend of mine who reminded me of this story that they heard, and it happened to be in church. So for those of you, you know, non-believers, that's cool. I'm not taking you to church right now, but I think the lesson was, there was a gentleman who was in New York, and it wasn't that long ago, and was on the subway, and there was a guy with, I think, 3 or 4 kids, and the kids were bananas, right? Out of control in the subway, and people were getting annoyed and frustrated. And finally he went up and said, hey, you probably need to rein your kids in, right? And the guy looked up, and his eyes were all bloodshot, and he said, you're right. He said, they just lost their mom. And I thought, that just was like, that hit me in such a way that you never know what's going on in someone else's life.
Right.
So on the outside, maybe everybody looks great, or maybe the person who's going too slow in the left lane, maybe there's something that just happened, right? Or maybe, the person who you think is being a jerk, maybe they just lost their parent, or they just lost their job. And it goes back to what we were saying about community and lead with kindness.
Yeah.
Sometimes just giving somebody a smile can change the trajectory of their day because they feel seen. Yeah. And I think in everything that we're doing personally and professionally is really to help people be seen and to shine. And so I think as we embrace this next year, like, bring kindness, and you say all the time, put a shine on somebody. I think that is going to make 2025 freaking amazing.
Cheers to that. Well, let's end it on that note, because we want to wish you the most prosperous, joy-filled, healthy, and wealthy new year. We're really looking forward to seeing so many of you on these LinkedIn Lives and in the community that we hold so dear. Thank you for being on with us. Happy New Year.
All right. Cheers, everybody. We wish you greatness. And if you need anything, please reach out. We're here.
Bye, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Appreciate y'all.